did turn it on.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, we'll open up with public comment. Is there any public comment? Tim?
Now, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I just wanted to come in this morning and make sure I let you folks know that I talked to my editor-publisher of Readout News, and we are across the Northwest working real hard on making sure that local citizens are informed of what's going on at local government levels. So basically from this day forward, I will be reporting for Readout News on our meetings. And so I will ask one real important point, and that is when these agendas come out, we need to try and follow them so people can be informed of when things are happening on the agenda, as well as when things are on the agenda, we need to know for sure what's being talked about. This last week, a meeting was held where a document was discussed in detail with the finance officer regarding our budget, and I asked for a copy of that at the conclusion of the meeting, and I was told that that's proprietary information. I disagree wholeheartedly with that assessment because that is information that's being discussed in our public meeting, and without that document, to be able to verify the factual information that's being delivered to the public, we can't confirm. And I would really appreciate being able to make sure that we have that information at these meetings. I've asked for it before in the budget. It's been discussed regarding the commission budget, having enough money for printing, etc., keeping the people informed. It's really important to have that under our constitutional rights of Montana, under Article 2, Sections 8 and 9. It's pretty hard to know if we don't know what's going on, and it's pretty hard to participate if the agenda is not followed or clear. So with that said, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, please work harder to get information to the people. I will do my best to help make that happen through Readout News. And with that, that's about all I have for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
I have something.
Shelby?
So on Friday, there was a posting for a Wednesday meeting to request authorization for special counsel by the district attorney here. And now that posting is gone. Has that meeting been canceled?
We were trying to get a hold of Mako to establish some ground rules, so we don't know if it's canceled yet or not.
So when will the public be
Well,
informed?
hopefully by this afternoon I'll have some verification.
Okay, and then how will you post that? Will it just be,
We'll just have to repost it, I would guess.
all right, so
If we're
is
gonna
it,
have another meeting with Mako, we'll have to post that and then we'll have to repost that.
so is the plan to postpone it for like a week?
Probably until Monday at the latest.
Okay. Is there a statute of limitations on the matter that is going to not be met?
What's that?
Is there a statute of limitations on that that's not gonna be met?
I believe it's the 1st of August, is it not?
Yeah, I would decline to comment on
Okay.
anything like that.
Well, I guess my comment is the first that I've heard that the meeting's been postponed.
Yeah, I would guess a meeting, we'll postpone that meeting until we get a meeting with Mako.
And you were not aware that it was going to be
I
postponed?
was not.
So this is your first?
Yes, it is.
Why would that not be
I don't know.
communicated to you, under the commissioner? Okay.
Yes, Tim?
As a follow-up on that, Mr. Chairman, the email system that is giving us, the citizens, the agenda as it comes out, normally that's hitting now on Thursday, so that's good. We at least have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to get a little bit idea what's on the agenda, even though, you know, there's some information that still is out there, I'm not sure what is going on. the meetings that have been historically been scheduled on Wednesdays, with the exception, I think, of the one that was done in Three Forks, there is no email on those meetings.
Well, normally we try to have those meetings on the Monday agenda, but this meeting didn't even come up until Thursday afternoon.
Okay, but,
So we can't, we gotta we have to post it 48 hours before the meeting.
understood. That's
And we
statutory
can't, we
requirement.
can't, if the deadline is Thursday and we decide the meeting is Thursday afternoon, there's no way for us to get it to the paper.
Gotcha. But there has been meetings on Wednesdays that just don't have the notification that we were hoping to be able to have.
Okay, well,
Thank
most
you.
time we try to put the Monday and Wednesday together.
Understood, thank you.
Yes, Debbie?
Following up on that, I understand with the newspaper deadlines, but, and I'm on that email list for today's meetings. Is there a way when there is a Wednesday meeting to get an email on Friday or Thursday afternoon
Or even Monday.
or even Monday?
That's basically where
I-
And
I,
that's 48 hours notice.
Yeah.
Monday
Okay.
morning.
Because the Thursday emails are great about today's, Monday's meetings. But I don't know why we're not getting those emails for a Wednesday or Thursday meeting.
I don't know if this one was addressed to be emailed on Thursday or not.
And then I'm still back on. So
Sorry.
I am aware that the statute of limitations is August 1st. That's next, we'll have 3 days next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, to get that scheduled. We only have until
Well, if we're gonna have it on Monday,
Monday this coming.
because that's basically when we're gonna have it done by,
Okay. Then that's when we should expect it.
yes.
Okay.
And that may, depending on when we can have with the meeting with Mako, that may have to be a revised agenda. So we'll try to make sure everybody gets it.
So when did you speak to Mako? Because the last I heard, Mako had already responded. Is
I
this
talked
just
to
a-
Mako Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday,
And nothing was
and I
resolved?
haven't got a call back from him yet today. I called him this morning.
Okay.
Any other public comment? Yes.
I don't really have a public comment, but I just wanted to insert before you go on. The certificate of survey review wasn't on the agenda, and Nicole said that we would probably just do it at 10 as normal.
Yeah, we can do it now. Is there any other public comment? Okay, let's go
I
ahead.
just have a question.
Corey.
Tim, what was the document you asked for last week? I wasn't clear on that. You said you asked for a document last week?
Wasn't it the focus?
yes, at the meeting, the commission had a document that they were going line by line. It dealt a lot with tilt. There were some highlighted points of interest that the commission was discussing. And to my knowledge, it was a one-page sheet, but it could have been a couple. But it was in regarding to spending of PILT funds as well as new requests for PILT funds, from what I have in my notes and what I did recover on the video. Audio, again, has been a challenge, but that was on the table, and it was presented in the segment of the agenda and discussed. So I asked for it, and I was told that that's proprietary information and not available to the public by Debbie Kelly, who is the finance officer, because there was no copies of it available at the meeting. And so that's why I asked the question, Mr. Chairman, and sir, that's where I'm coming from,
I can't think of why. So that was our budget or somebody else's?
the county's budget.
Was it county?
It was Debbie's PILT worksheet is what it was. It's nothing that's been approved or anything. It was just, she was giving us information on where the PILT money was going. And all it is it's just one of her worksheets. So I don't know if
It's a public
that's-
document. I mean, if she generated it, produced it for the commission, it's a public document. I can follow up with her, but
It just helps clear what's being talked about. If you have, you can follow. And I think Commissioner Fulford had said one day he didn't have a copy of something that was hard to keep up even with the copies that he had. So it is just to help to keep the transparency for the people. Thank you.
One thing I'd like to add, Tim, it is a worksheet, right? So all this information that's on this worksheet is not like set in stone.
Exactly.
It's stuff for us to work with.
Understood.
So the concern is, you put that information out there, everybody gets the wrong information, because it is just a worksheet that probably will change the next day. So it's not accurate information. Does that make sense?
To a certain extent, yes, it is a draft, and I totally understand the draft document. We go through that with the legislature all the time. It goes through the process for 90 days in a working document that moves forward. And it's really no different here at the local government under the statutory requirements for us to have the right to know what's being talked about. And so therefore, yes, it is very important for me to say, this is draft, this is not final. But if I don't even know what's on the document, it's hard for me to even say that, as a citizen, as a journalist reporter. So I'm trying to work with you folks the best of my ability so that I can make sure that I don't get myself sideways with you. I'm not looking for a fight, I'm looking for the right information so that we can share that with the people ahead of chance, because there's nothing worse than coming in and finding about something going on once the final decision is made. That does not provide public participation.
Okay, I'm so sorry, this is probably my last question about this. Is it ethical or normal practice for something on the agenda or an agenda that was scheduled to be postponed without the knowledge of all three commissioners? Is it ethical?
It's up to the discretion of the chair.
Okay. Is it normal practice for this commission to do that?
Not really.
Okay.
Bernadette, did you want to, any other public comment? Bernadette, you want to go ahead with your COS?
Good morning.
No,
Nicole could not be here today, so she asked me to go ahead and bring these up to you, and the landowners are here also for any questions. The first one I have here is for Leonard Lambot, a boundary relocation.
Bernadette, so this is, excuse me, this is just moving this line and this line to these two, correct?
Right, it was
And
to a
that's for
whole
pivoting?
3 acres to the house, but all the pivot was not on the agricultural tract.
Okay, that makes sense. I don't have any issues.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move that we support this boundary relocation as presented for Mr. Leonard Lambot.
No, second.
Motion's been made and second to support the boundary relocation for Leonard Lambert. Any further discussion? Tim?
A real quick question for clarification. What part of the county is this in?
It's Lower Ray Creek Road.
Lower Red Creek Road?
Yep,
Okay, thank
the old
you.
Swenson place.
Gotcha, thank you.
Mike, I think it's important to point out, it is here on the agenda.
Oh, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
I,
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
Have another boundary relocation for John and Mary Heineman. And this is over on the Springville Road area.
It looks familiar.
Yes, near their subdivision.
And they own both the little lot and the big lot where the
Yes, yes.
change is? Okay.
Hey, Bernadette, can I ask,
Yes.
is there still this small portion left of this other, why isn't this a straight line through here?
I don't understand.
Instead of taking this and just bumping it back up to here, that leaves this small little piece on this piece of property? Is there a reason why that was?
It was to add it to, that 20 acres.
But the rest of it you added to this lot, though?
No, nothing was added. That was added to the 20 acres up high. So that lot was enlarged to 20 acres.
Also, the 20-acre lot is enlarged.
Yes. Yeah, we took that lot to make over 20 acres.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Am I answering your question?
And this lot 8 is not to be subdivided, is that what this says?
That's what they had intended, that she's here, that they were considering putting a covenant on it for no further divisions.
Is there a motion to approve the Heineman boundary relocation?
I'll move to support the boundary relocation as presented for the Heinemans.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it based on the fact that they are planning to put deed restrictions on it, so it cannot be divided anymore. I'll second that.
Motion's been made and second to approve the Heineman boundary relocation. Any further discussion? Tim?
One more time, Mr. Chairman. Location, and this time I maybe add to that question, why? For just summary, please.
Springville subdivision, the
Okay.
Springville town site actually. It adds to this 20-acre parcel. I have no idea why. To make it over 20 acres, I would assume, with deed restrictions, it is not to be subdivided again. Any further discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Corey?
Comment, I understand that deed restriction for subdivision, but it probably doesn't prohibit them from relocating the boundary subsequently if they wanted to. Is that accurate, or can you only do it once? You should be able to relocate it again if they wanted to, if they still own both parcels.
Right, yeah, I suppose, yeah, they
They
could.
Okay,
It would come back before the board again,
Right.
if they so choose.
right, but it's a restriction just on, for the subdivision? And that, it's not a restriction on family transfer? Probably.
Okay, yeah.
Right, yeah, it's, their intent, but
Right,
not like a subdivision that you could
Right.
require that as a stipulation, but that's their intent.
So what's the, how enforceable are deed restrictions?
They would be a restriction on the deed that, would be up to the landowners, or, it would come, if someone tried to subdivide it and it was on their deed that there was a restriction of no subdividing it, then the county could definitely step in and say, we can't approve this subdivision because there's a specific deed, restriction on that property. It would be something that the commission would have to work up with a future landowner of whether or not they would allow it at that time.
Okay, okay,
But that would all happen through the subdivision process.
oh, okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bernadette.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thanks you guys for coming. This is a new process. You guys have come in the past, but thanks for coming this time too.
Okay, we'll move on to 10-15, fiscal year 20 county budget, PILT allocations, personnel, special requests, and cash reserves. So the only difference that we have on this sheet last week is the solid waste assistance to be determined on a Board of Investments loan, so.
Yeah, the only thing with that is we don't have it yet, so I think it's likely we could, but without having it yet, it's hard to plan that way, so it probably should be a contingency.
And the anticipated PILT payment is $628,000.
And I read Debbie's email that she said because we don't know what that is, we actually, No, she is correct. I think she's smart there. I was gonna say we know what it is, but we just got notice of what it is for 2019. So she's correct. We don't know what it is for 2020. So I think she's wise on that. So as a starter, I think I'd feel good about what we talked about in the working meeting on these, unless you guys have any more questions or concerns.
Did we discuss on the first line item there, the economic development, that we were gonna move that down to the Wheatland turn lane?
We did, and it's still there. I don't know if this is just notes here in the bottom right, or if that's been divided out. So that would maybe be a question for Debbie.
So should that amount be removed if that's the case then?
I don't see the 72,981 in the column to the right. Do you guys, or to the left? Am I just missing it?
We were gonna take that money that was coming out of that turn lane was money that was paid back to Pill. So the 72,981 is what she's got left right now, so we're taking another 25 out, so that's coming out of Pill, but it's because money was put back into Pill from
Yeah.
economic development.
Yeah, so I think Daryl might be right. I think this might be a duplicate entry here that should just be removed from here and then just use this one here. I don't see any other duplicates, do you guys?
So that should increase our estimated balance then? By
Yes.
25?
Yep.
Right. Mhm.
So when
She
we,
says that there are other expenses that are over what was budgeted, so there's still some other expenses that we have to pull out of this,
correct,
that haven't been run through completely yet.
correct. Yeah, and we'll probably see those when we go through the tax levy requirements report. For now, are you guys good if I make a motion to adopt the expenditures, PILT expenditures on the left-hand side of this worksheet? Or do you have more questions?
Are we going to exclude the economic development out of that then?
Yeah, because we're moving that to the Wheatland, per our meeting last week. So yeah, that's not included in this vote.
I'm good with all those funds being expended that way.
Yeah, I think we got it, I think we got a pretty good document there. It's pretty accurate. So, yeah, I would second that motion with the removal of the economic development.
So our balance in Pilt should be 392, 485.
Yes, yes. Gives us a little bit something to work with.
Okay, yes, Tim,
Just
I can
real-
get you a copy of this after the meeting.
Okay, thank you. And I just, my question, Mr. Chairman, is this final that you're adopting today is a result of the working meeting that you guys had last week, getting closer to the finalization of the
Yeah.
budget, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, that brings me back to my question and why I asked the question, which was, if there's some things on that spending of expenditures of that fund, which is tax dollars, it's hard to let the people know in advance. Now, today it's final, which people have not known anything about that in
Well,
detail.
today
It's hard to follow.
It's not final until the final budget is drafted.
Okay, we still got more
This is
time there,
basically
but I understand
for
that, but it's, again, it's getting the information so that we can share it. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes,
Is
of
the
course.
Barris litigation included in that action?
Yes, it is. It's listed under the litigation fund, and we eliminated Barris from the fund because we don't want his name on anything anymore.
Well, I have to say his name in court all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what the case is called, so I don't know if it matters. But I just want to ensure that that money's restricted to just that case. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how we pay it, so,
100,000 again.
right.
Okay, personnel.
And if we could vote on that. We moved and seconded, just haven't voted.
Oh, okay, we need to have a vote on the approval of this PILT request then?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what, I guess I do have a
Just for the
question.
left side, because we haven't done the Wheatland stuff either, which I'll ask to do that as a second motion.
Okay. Is there a second to approve this then?
You know what, so how's it stated? State it again, please.
So the left side of the PILT worksheet, and I can read through this if you want,
Oh.
move to approve that as it is in this, as it is written here. So that would be for the health department, $12,000, and that is to match their grants. Liability insurance has already been decided, that's in the list. Food pantry, tree board, and CASA for $6,000, as has been done for many years. Veterans and indigent burial, veterans burial at $8,000, indigent at $4,000, juvenile transport at $10,000. Public safety vehicle CIP at $20,000. 3-year donation to, or 3rd year donation to public safety for the 43-8 Memorial Fund at $50,000. Centers for Mental Health, that's our dues, and it's $5,000. That may need to be upped a little bit. Personnel with we staff, that's $15,550. Repayment of intercap loan proceeds, that's $3,000. Debt, Department of Interior, BLM Limestone Tower lease site, $2,500, that is reimbursed. Litigation fund, that's $100. New voter machines as required by the Secretary of State, that's $11,500. Solid waste we need to work on. Building CIP, $20. Ambulance, $15. Library, $10. Legal fund, that's $100. Communication fund, that's $17. And the motion is to approve those for PILT allocation at this time.
I'll second the motion.
Is there any further discussion? I do have one question. The new voter machines required, is this 11.5, is that our half, or do we get reimbursed half of that?
I think that's our half, and we'll get reimbursed. I think the total was 34, but I'm just
Okay,
shooting off the top of my head, so I could be a little off on that.
okay. Yes, Tim?
Real quick, thank you Commissioner Obert for going through and giving a summary of that.
So, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Carries. Okay, then the Wheatland Turns Lane repayment.
Now, on this one, I would like to recuse myself. Not because there's any conflict of interest, but I do serve on the board for BCDC. Very proud of the work they do for our community. And my husband is the executive director of MBAC, also very proud of the work they do for us, for the citizens of Broadwater County.
So we're gonna move, are we gonna move the 2647 out of there?
No, it stays there
Or it
because it
stays
came
at
from
25?
here.
But shouldn't it be 2647 versus the 25?
Correct. So she made the correction here. She just didn't remove it from here.
Oh,
That's what
okay.
we did just now, but this is with her recalculation
Oh,
here.
okay, okay. So is there a motion to move the money for economic development, MBAC dues, and BCDC membership out of the weekly turn lanes to pay for that?
I will second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded to move $26,047 out of Wheatland turn lanes to pay for the economic development, MBAC dues, and the BCDC membership. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And I'm abstaining.
And Lori abstained, okay?
So did that motion include the community development planning to make their budget whole $3,887?
No, it just included the 26.
Okay, I would move that we do the same with community development planning to make the budget whole in the total at this time of $3,887.
Okay, is there a second?
Hold on just a second, let me look at something.
And that comes out of that turn lane fund?
Yes, out of the Wheatland turn lanes.
Thank you.
And we can come back to that if you want to, Daryl, after we review the tax levy requirements report.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Then, for now, I will remove my motion.
Okay. Okay, the cash reserve, where do we have those? I do not have.
Probably a better place to go is straight to that tax levy requirements report, because it has the cash reserves in it.
You know, but I didn't bring that.
Oh, I can share mine. So, first thing on it is the top left, so column 10, you have the value of a mill, 16,047, that was the value last year. And there's a newspaper article we were sent by Bill Jarocki, that said that we could expect 15% increase to that. However, because of 1510-420 MCA, what that says is we're only allowed to grow for existing properties by 0.5% of the last 3 years' inflationary rate. So that rate, I think, is close to 0.5, and I don't remember what it is. Anyway, so it was 1%. So we had said before getting that article that we would plan on a 3% increase. So in my opinion, this should be raised to reflect 3%. I think that's very conservative. It would be an increase of $481 per mil. So that should be 16,500-ish. And then that would change everything in column 6. But for our discussion today, we can just work with what we have here. So road mills, they get a different number of mills than the rest of us. And the mosquito mills, that's also a different value. That's what that reflects. So just starting at general fund. So what this is, the first column is what is submitted for the expenditure budget. The second column is your cash reserves. So that's the cash report that we have with a date certain. And then column 3 is those two added together. So that's all your expenses from these two is column 3. Column 4, you'll notice, is column 2 is your cash reserve. So that's after you go through the full worksheet. So if you look at 2, it should be the exact same number as column 11. So what you do is get through this line of calculations and you transfer 11 back to 2 and it balances. The idea is 1/2 balances with the other. So column 4 is your cash balance. So that's the report that we get from Debbie, and that's the date certain that she's put on there, 6/30/2019. So the non-tax revenue, that's grants, that's entitlement share, that is donations, fees for service, that kind of thing. Column 6 is property taxes, that's from the mills. So your calculation of column 10, 16,047 right now, times the number of mills equals what's in column 6. Column 7 is 5 plus 6, column's 5 plus 6. And then column 8, that is column 4, which is your cash balance from Debbie's reports, and your total revenues. So that's your total revenue you have to work with. Column 9 is your property tax revenues divided by your mill value to give you your number of mills. And then 11 again should equal 2, and that is your cash balance from Debbie minus your expenditure budget plus the total revenues. And then from there, through calculation, you come up with how much you have in reserves, and that's the last column on the right. The law says you can have 33% and no more. So anything that's above 33%, what we do is we move that excess into a CIP. So that those, whatever that department is, they can save up for equipment, printers, computers, that kind of thing, vehicles. So general fund is at 14. That's actually not that bad. We've been trying to move that one up, and I think it was 4 last year. So that's really quite a nice recovery. We need to keep going in the same direction. Road is 0.45, so we'll be putting 12% of that into a CIP. The law does not allow money that goes to roads to go to anything else. So we can't, even if we wanted to, we couldn't take that money and put it anywhere else. That is road money, period. That's it. Weed, same story, 44%, so we have 11. We'll put into a CIP, and that's one of the reasons they have such a healthy CIP, is very good money management through the years.
Is some of this based on what projected revenues were by the department head though, too?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, that would be column, that would be columns 5 and 6,
Mhm.
depending on what the source is of that revenue, projected revenue.
Right.
So some trouble areas, fair is at a -13 for their reserves. Looks like they have a deficit right now of about $4,872.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the fair. I mean, they're in a deficit now. They have a lot of bills are gonna be coming in after the fair. You know, they're gonna start their new year in a deficit.
Right. Yeah. That's one we need to work on. We need to figure out, we need to look at their budget revenue, their budget expenditure, figure out if there's discrepancies. There should be vacancy savings there because we have not had a fair manager. Do we have that? Is that, has it not been realized? Where does that stand? So there's a lot of questions we need to drill into for fair. This is one of the most important documents we have for the budget because it puts everything in front of us so we know where to look for the problem areas. Do you want to continue with an overview, or do you guys want to go to the fair budget now?
No, that's fine for now.
Continue. Okay, the ambulance also has a negative, no, I'm sorry, airport has a positive, so we'll be putting about 11% of their budget into their CIP, that's normal, we do it every year.
So Daryl, that money that we're going to transfer to Livingston,
Yeah.
they're not gonna use
They're
that
not gonna,
now?
no, so they're looking for another project that they could possibly transfer that to help somebody else out.
Do we lose that if we don't move it?
Yes, so I think, I remember, it goes by fiscal year, so December of this year, if they can't find a project for it, the FAA will take it back.
Is there somebody looking for, or is there a project available that you know
Yeah,
of? or-
but we don't know right now, they're in the process of trying to find one.
Would they have the entire pool that was gonna go to Livingston, that was all replaced by the FAA?
Yeah.
So that entire pool, is there a possibility that could come to our airport, or?
Well, yeah, and that's how that would work, when, in 2022, when it comes time for our project, the other airports that we have contributed to over the years, that money will come back to us.
Could we bump that up a year or not,
I don't know about that.
if there's no other project available?
Right.
If there's no other project, is everybody in danger of losing that money?
I would assume, but I don't know that for sure.
Okay.
So Bill Berkland, he's our engineer for the airport.
Mm-hmm.
He is brilliant, and he's absolutely dedicated. He's been a really strong ally for us. So it would be my assumption, and you've worked with him too, Daryl, I imagine you two go way back.
Mm-hmm.
But I would imagine he's very focused on finding this so that he knows how important it is. District Court is at 17% to the positive. I think that is absolutely fantastic. From where we started, this has, I don't know what more to say about Val than she is absolutely brilliant and fantastic. This is impressive. Also, she has a separate fund called District Court, and this one is for commitments set up per MCA. If you look at that last number, it's 1.18. So we can only have 33%. I believe that applies to this fund too. That'd be a question for Debbie. But that is money we can put into a CIP that she can hold for future needs.
Okay.
Comprehensive health insurance is done. Mosquitoes, 0.29, that's fine. Parks, they don't really need a CIP or reserves. The library, we're gonna put some into their CIP, so 0.05 is probably fine. As we get the money in tax, we go ahead and pay our fair share of that. That's a county school. Library, it's a partnership, so not funding the library just isn't an option. The citizens voted and we obey. And we obey happily. There's a lot of people in this town that would tell you the library is one of the most important things that we have. And I've met with some of them for lunch. Ambulance, that's at 0 for the reserves, not a big deal. What we do with the ambulance, and of course everything is a little bit in flux right now, but what we do with the ambulance is we save up money to pay for a new one in 10 years or so. And then this fund is to pay for or help pay for extra equipment that they might need. EKGs, the lift, I'm trying to remember what gurney we paid for in the past, so those kinds of things. And
So, okay, so I guess the 15,000 that's coming out of PILT, where will that show up in their budget?
it won't show up on this. This,
Okay.
well, no, on this page. So if on page 2, you will see the 4,000s. Those are the CIPs. So if you look at 4,006, that's the ambulance. 1,006.
Okay, yep, got it.
And there are no reserves, it's a CIP, it's a savings account. It is for capital, but it's a savings account for all intents and purposes. Planning and addressing. We have, and that's why I said for now, and I'm thinking we might have to readdress this, but negative 22.22 in the reserves. We have known for years that this was going to be a trouble area. When Nancy Everson, and you know Nancy Darrell, finance officer from Lewis and Clark County, came to help us, she said, you know, you guys have been using planning to help pay for other departments for a long time. At some point, you're going to have to start putting money back into planning because that's not sustainable. And she was right. This was from years and years and years ago. So we've been watching it, and that's why we've been making some of the changes to planning that we have. This is not a surprise, but we are going to have to infuse planning with either more entitlement share or PILT. We can do either one. So we're looking at a deficit of roughly $14,000 right now at the end of the year. If she continues with what's going on, if we look at that communication budget, there are some things we can do to help this budget. And maybe we just marry that communication budget to planning community development, since it is all interrelated. So it's something we can look at. Daryl, you look like a man.
I was
with
trying
brains.
to think back to some of our previous meetings of, there were some other additional revenues that we had planned for her. And I'm trying to think what that was.
One of them was the money that's been going into the general fund.
Yeah,
For
oh, there you go,
years.
there you
Yeah.
go, there you go, that's what I'm thinking about,
I'm not sure if that's reflected in here or not.
yeah,
If it is, it's not, it's making a dent,
yeah,
but it's not gonna correct the whole
yeah.
thing. If we do take that communication fund, since that is going to be the job of that department, that's $17,000,
Mm-hmm.
that right there takes care of it.
Okay.
That won't be the full answer, but it would take care
Right.
of it for this year, and it would give us a working foundation to figure out where we need to go on that.
Right. Now, I know we were considering a part-time person, right? Be shared between
Yeah.
planning and sanitarian.
Yes. And I still think we have to do that, the reason being, when you have a one-person office,
Mhm.
and that one person is out in the field, how do you communicate with the public and get them the basics that they need?
Mhm.
So having that shared position, I think, is important. I also think it can be a money saver long run. She's interested in going to 32 hours. I don't think until we get somebody acclimated that that's a possibility. But if we do get somebody in that can take on some of those duties that she does, we could have somebody at a lower pay picking up some of those duties. So that's where the savings would come in. You guys wanna continue, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Senior citizens, that is essentially a match, that's RMDC. And if there's any extra, I think we might be still missing one final payment. If there's any extra, it looks like we might have some for their CIP. That's important to help pay for stoves, dishwashers, tables, chairs, paint, repair to the roof, repair to the shed, repair to the siding, repair to the heating system, repair to the floor.
And I think we have some of that coming up.
The dishwasher.
Yeah.
Right.
Just replace the dishwasher.
Right. Okay.
Extension, we do have a plan for that, if we're able to do it. If we lose mills, we're gonna have to look at another plan, but we talked about adding 0.5 mil. That hasn't been done yet, so that would change those numbers at this point. We do show a very small negative, $98, no reserves. Public safety, they're showing a 9% reserves. That was, I think, the same as last year, so they are holding their own, which is expected. There's a 2.25 million dollar budget, and to have 9% reserves is pretty good. We just need to keep that going up, keep working on that. That's where Bill Jeroke's lessons, I think, are invaluable. Juvenile transport, we fund that from PILT. We are expecting a reimbursement there, hopefully. Inmate morale and welfare, that's a new fund, and that was created at the requirement of the auditor this year. There is 1%, or I guess 100% is how you'd read that. 33% is allowed, so we'll be able to put about 66% of that into a CIP.
So is that was my question, what kind of CIP would that be for that fund?
Is that their telephone and their kiosks and all that stuff?
Right, so if any of those needed repair, I would also think since it's the detention center, that could also make general repairs to the detention center. Perhaps help with detention vehicle, that kind of thing. It's for capital, and it's for inmate morale and welfare. It'd be something to run past Debbie, but those would be my first guesses.
I don't know about, I mean, Brandon, maybe you can help me. Don't the inmates contribute partially to this fund, or? I'm not sure.
That's all funding derived from the inmates using the phone and commissary.
Right.
That cannot be used on anything outside of, like we used to buy the TVs in their
Right.
pods, rec room equipment, things like that. You can't purchase vehicles or anything like
Right.
that with it. It's very, very limited.
Sure, but have
But
to
you-
kind of stay with those things you just
Yeah,
mentioned.
we use it, we bought bedding, clothing.
Right, okay.
You know, a few games in the pods when those get wore out.
So whatever benefits the inmates.
Yeah,
Okay,
it has
gotcha.
to benefit them
Yeah.
directly for their welfare.
That's how I understood it.
Okay. Well, that's great, because that means that money isn't coming out of another fund to take care of those things, so that money can be used for other things.
So is there a, since that thing